On this episode of Getting Your Crap Together with Kristi, we're going to be breaking down one of my favorite books called Atomic Habits. So today we're learning all about the book called Atomic Habits by James Clear. This happens to be one of my new favorite books. In fact, I've read it twice in the past month. It's that good. So let's get into why Kristi thinks you should read this book. So the first thing, and it's actually in the title of the book, he says it's Atomic Habits, an easy, proven way to build good habits and break bad ones. So what James Clear does is he breaks down what is an atomic habit. Basically, it's a tiny habit, really. It's part of a bigger system, but it's just one small change. He gives an example of, putting your shoes on is one small habit that's part of the bigger scheme of going to the gym, or even the bigger scheme of losing weight. So by focusing on these tiny habits, we can influence a chain reaction and to reach our overall goals. When we're building habits, it can get frustrating, right? Like we feel like, I've been going to the gym, I've been doing all of these different things, and sometimes the results, we just don't see them right away. And for most people, that's why they fall out of a habit or they fall out of a routine. James talks about something called critical threshold, and I love the example he gives of an ice cube. If we were trying to melt an ice cube and the room started at 25 degrees, we wouldn't see any movement in the ice cube melting until it reached a critical threshold. At 32 degrees and then 33 degrees, we'd finally start to see the ice cube melting. Now, was all the energy and effort before it hit that critical threshold a waste? Absolutely not. We needed to heat the room up. We just didn't start seeing the results. So one of the things that he says is have patience with yourself. Continue, because we just don't know when we're going to hit that critical threshold and start to see the results of all of the habits that we're putting into place. One of the things that James made really clear in this book, and actually I have a quote directly from him that I'm going to read so I don't mess it up. He says, "You do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems." A lot of times it's not about the goals that we set. It's about the systems that we have in place that help us reach our goals or help us not reach our goals. It's our environment and our habits that all compound. So instead of thinking of your end result, think about what systems do you have in place that are going to help you achieve your goal. So one of the things that I really started to understand better through Atomic Habits was how our beliefs actually affect our habits and how we make choices. He gives a really, really great example of two people who are quitting smoking. And let's say that you actually went up to one of those two people and you offered them a cigarette. And the first person says, "No, thank you, I don't smoke." And the second person says, "No, thank you, I'm trying to quit smoking." Do you see the difference between the two people? The first person already identified themselves and had a belief that they didn't smoke. He said, "No, thank you, I don't smoke." Whereas the second person, they were just trying to quit smoking. So when you're trying to start a new habit, James says you need to have the belief that you're going to be able to be that person. If you're trying to develop a habit of becoming a reader, you would start to have an identity and a belief that I am a reader. And every time you read a book, you're casting a vote towards being the type of person that's a reader. And basically, you're convincing yourself and you're starting to believe, and your beliefs form habits and actions. So it's so important, the stories that we tell ourselves and how we identify ourselves. When I read a book, one of the strategies that I like to do is I'll actually highlight all of my favorite quotes. And I want to share with you guys some of the things that have really, have resonated with me. And they're basically some of my favorite quotes from the book. Professionals stick to the schedule, while amateurs let life get in the way. Habits are the compound interest of self-improvement. Success is the product of daily habits, not once-in-a-lifetime transformations. That goes really back to that whole thing he talked about. We don't always have to have this grand gesture of change. We can focus on, rather small changes that will compound over time. So to finish up, one of my favorite quotes from the book that really put into place how I need to change my life, he says, "The greatest threat to success is not failure, but boredom." And that's the key difference, right? You think about Michael Phelps. You think he ever got bored in the pool? I bet you he did. But the difference was he was okay with the boredom. right? You just got to keep going and you just got to keep grinding. So I promise you guys, if you're currently in a habit that's boring, just keep doing it. You'll become a better person for it. So that's my vote and my take on Atomic Habits. I hope you absolutely love this book. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you follow us on Facebook so you don't miss any of our featured content.